Here's the short history of me. Born in 1961, went to high school. I went to one university for a semester, American University in Washington, D.C. Didn't like it, knew I couldn't afford 4 years of student loan. Didn't want to hang out with people who were enraptured by Stroh's beer and marijuana.
Henry Rollins is one of the most integral figures in the punk movement of the 1980s through the 90s. He has contributed to both many human rights movements as well as performed many spoken word acts showing both his blunt opinions and his political criticisms. He has played in many influential punk acts, including Black Flag and Rollins Band. His beginnings were modest, growing up in Washington, D.C. He was born February 13, 1961, in Washington, D.C. He was the only child of Iris H. Garfield and Paul Jerome Garfield, who was a World War II veteran with a Ph.D. in economics. At the age of 3, Henry's parents divorced, and he was raised by his mother in the Glover Park neighborhood of Washington, D.C. He grew up in a primarily black neighborhood where he listened to soul and R&B radio stations. His mother often played Miles Davis records in their apartment. Henry's childhood was ultimately very musically diverse. One of Henry's greatest struggles early in his life was ADHD. After being kicked out of numerous schools, he was prescribed Ritalin to keep him under control. In 6th grade, he was sent to the Bullis School in Potomac, Maryland, to straighten him out. Throughout middle school and high school, Henry took up skateboarding and soccer, putting him on the junior varsity soccer team as well as the Bethesda Surf Shop skate team. He also was the captain of the advanced biology team. Henry graduated from the Bullis School in 1979, and with nowhere to go, he often slept in the backseat of his car or at his friend and singer of Minor Threat, Ian MacKay's house. The two friends, with separate bands, would become two of the biggest icons to emerge from the punk movement. With Henry frustrated with his life, he looked for an outlet to vent much of his anger with his surroundings and himself. No type of music at the time fit what Henry wanted to express his anger. Not longer later, the punk movement would begin to take shape, and Henry would have a way to express his anger and thoughts with music. After MacKay introduced Rollins to punk rock with the Ramones' debut album, Rollins became hooked on the punk scene. Henry became a roadie for many DC punk acts, including Teen Idols. He would sometimes sing with the band when their singer failed to show up, and his singing ability soon spread throughout DC like wildfire. During this time, Rollins was working in DC as the manager of a Haagen-Dazs. He also had developed a friendship with the California-based band Black Flag's bassist Chuck Dukowski over letters. Henry became close with the band and invited them to sleep at his home while touring through the East Coast in December of 1980. With Henry's infatuation with Black Flag, he tried to see as many concerts as he could. When Black Flag came to the tour of the East Coast again, in 1981, Rollins attended a Black Flag show in a New York City bar, which was 5 hours from his home in D.C. While at the show, vocalist Des Cadena allowed Rollins to sing the song Clocked In. Not long later, Black Flag was looking for a new vocalist as Des Cadena now wanted to play guitar. The band invited Henry to an audition at the Two Casas studio in New York City. The band was very impressed with his singing and his stage presence. In 1981, Rollins was the head of his favorite band and had broken free from his hated 9-to-5 lifestyle, quitting his managerial spot at Haagen-Dazs and selling his car. Rollins then moved to Los Angeles. Almost immediately upon arriving, he had a Black Flag logo tattooed to his left bicep. It was at this time that Henry donned the surname Rollins, with it previously being Garfield. Black Flag soon released their debut full-length album, Damaged, on December 5th. Rollins played his first show with Black Flag on August 21, 1981, at Cuckoo's Nest in Costa Mesa, California. Immediately, the police had realized that Henry was the new vocalist of the often rowdy and anti-authoritative band and began to intimidate him. Rollins has always been known for his energetic stage performances, often diving into the crowd and having fans sing on stage with him.
Stay!
Rollins gradually began to realize that playing in his favorite band was not turning out how he had hoped. Many of Black Flag's fans begin to protest Rollins as a vocalist because they thought that he had drawn the band away from the music they once made. Rollins' already violent performance style came to a climax where he would often be assaulted at shows. This led to him fighting back, garnering him a hatred of original Black Flag fans, a group he was once avidly a part of. In 1986, Black Flag broke up. Both Rollins and guitarist Greg Ginn were fed up with bassist Kira Rossler's erratic behavior and college schedule. This caused for a very weak reputation over the course of their final few tours. In addition, Ginn's disorganized artistic creativity prevented the band from having similar albums, thus having them lose fans. Before the breakup, Rollins had started performing spoken word and released his first spoken word album, Short Walk on a Long Pier, in 1985. After the breakup, Rollins quickly became a solo artist with his releases Hot Animal Machine and Drive-By Shooting, both in 1987. Rollins had childhood friend Chris Haskett play guitar on these albums, as well as musicians Bernie Wandel and Mike Green playing bass and drums respectively. In addition, he continued to break into the scene of spoken word, releasing his second spoken word album, Big Ugly Mouth, in 1987. Soon after his brief solo career, Rollins started a new band with Haskett, as well as two musicians who had played with Greg Ginn, Andrew Weiss and Sim Kane. With Haskett on guitar, Weiss on bass, Kane on drums, and Rollins on vocals, Rollins' band was formed. The group released their first album in 1987, and it was called Lifetime. While the music was similar to Black Flag, it also mingled with heavy metal and jazz fusion. Rollins' band went on to release 8 albums over the course of 16 years, becoming known for songs such as Liar and Low Self-Opinion, which received heavy airplay on MTV through the mid to late 90s. After the release and touring for 1997's Come In and Burn, Rollins made the decision to leave the group, saying that there was a creative stalemate, which marked the end of Rollins' band up until 2003, which saw the release of the single album, Rise Above, 24 Black Flag songs to benefit the West Memphis 3, which was a collaboration album which featured artists such as Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead and Ice-T. All money raised from the sales of the album were donated to legal funds of West Memphis 3, who were 3 teenagers convicted of the murder of 3 boys in 1994, with little to no evidence. With Rollins' band dissolved once again, Rollins returned to the solo stage with releases of spoken word albums and spoken word documentaries such as Up For It in 2001, Life in Luna Park in 2004, and 2 documentaries in 2007, Uncut from New York City and Uncut from Israel. Rollins' spoken word was known for its thought-provoking manner in fields such as politics, war, and culture. Rollins has released several audiobooks, such as the 1994 audiobook Get in the Van, On the Road with Black Flag, a memoir in which Rollins recounts his experience touring with the band, and won a Grammy in 1995 for Best Spoken Word Album. Rollins has recently hosted shows such as the Harmony in My Head radio show, and in 2006, the Henry Rollins Show on IFC, which lasted 2 seasons with 41 episodes in total, in which Rollins voiced his opinions on many topics, conducted interviews, and gave his spotlight to numerous musical guests he felt deserved. Henry Rollins has been an activist for human rights for almost his entire career and has used his fame to call attention to numerous matters globally, such as gay marriage rights, even though he has shown indifference to any sort of relationship and does not seek one.
Secretly, I'm trying to make Ruben less homophobic.
Well, why would you bother trying? First off, every single thing he said is protected by the First Amendment. Second off, I don't want to incur your wrath with arms that size. You're an idiot. And
I only have arms this size because I'm not a homosexual. God created me to be a man, and this is Exhibit A of what a man sounds like, looks like, walks like.
Obviously. What you're getting from this audience, they're nice. So you're getting kind consideration, but mostly what you're getting is pity. Are you an American?
Absolutely.
Okay. You're living in a country that is moving past your point of view at an amazing rate of speed.
Which is why we are going
DOMA
down.
is going to die. Prop 8 is going to die.
He also made 8 United Service Organization tours during the Iraq War while still remaining against the war itself. Rollins joined the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America in 2008, which assists veterans returning home from the war merge back into society. Ultimately, Rollins is the most notable person to come out of the punk movement of the 1980s. He has inspired many artists with both his musical style as well as his open-minded nature. He will forever be seated in history as one of the most influential rock and roll artists, as well as someone who has been the change he wanted to see in the world. He has set out to achieve his goals with a tenacity that is rarely seen in celebrities today. Even though he started out small, he has gained a wide following of loyal fans and continues to strive for what he believes in today.
I want you to live 2 ways. long and strong. Good night.